In this module, we'll take a look at some morphosyntactic features of English which are unique to African American vernacular English. Morphosyntactic features would include features which combine grammatical features and also morphological features, features which are associated with words and word formation. One such feature is the use of non-finite be. Now in English we have two kinds of verbs, finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Finite verbs are the verbs which show tense, person and number. For example, when you say he likes cricket, the verb likes shows the present tense because we use like with s with third person singular and in the present tense, so the verb likes shows the tense, that is the present tense, and also the number. When we use s, it indicates that we are talking about one person, and then it also shows the number, that it is one person and also that it is a human being. So the finite verbs show number, person and tense, whereas non-finite verbs do not show these features. The verb to be in African American vernacular English is used as a non-finite verb which does not show number, person or tense, or is not marked for number, person or tense. So one of the uses of non-finite be is the indication of habitual state or activity. For example, when June come, I be out of school. So I be here is used unmarked for number, tense or person, and it indicates a habitual state, that it will be a permanent thing. Similarly, when my son was young, the women be given him money. So be again indicates something which regularly took place in the past, but be is unmarked itself, it is unmarked for the tense. Another feature is the use of done to indicate perfectivity. It is used with content verbs and it shows completion of an action. For example, you don't have it cause you done used it. So instead of using you have used it, in African American vernacular we observe that instead of have, done is used. Similarly, they done used all the good ones by now, so they have used. It shows that something has finished, has come to an end. But instead of has or have, done is used. Similarly, it is used with punctual verbs and it corresponds to already. So I done told you already, instead of saying I have told you already, they would say I done told you already. It is also used with iterative adverbs, and iterative adverbs are adverbs which show repetition of an action. For example, twice. So I done got wet twice again, twice going to the store. So when an action is repeated, its repetition is shown. Again, we use done to show the iterative nature of the action in the perfect, also showing the completion of the action. Then be done is used sequentially. It is used in a sense that corresponds to the general English will have done. So where in general English you would say will have done, in African American vernacular English you would say be done. So my ice cream's gonna be done, melted by the time we get there. So my ice cream will have melted. Similarly, so they can be done ate their lunch by the time they get there. So instead of saying they will have eaten their lunch, an African American would say so they can be done ate their lunch. Sequential be done is also used to show some result in future. For example, you be done slapped me by now, instead of, or to mean you would have usually walked away from me by now. So you be done slapped me by now. Similarly, I'll be done killed him if he tries to lay a hand on my kid again, which means that if he hurts my child, I will kill him. So to show a future result again, be done is used. Then been is also used to show non-recent perfective. The earlier examples we looked at, they were about recent completion of an action. Here it is being shown as demonstrating non-recent perfectivity. So in this case, it precedes a past tense verb, and refers to a condition that was true in the past, has been true for a comparatively long time. As this example shows, they've been called the cops and they are still not here, which means that the cops were called some time ago and they have still not come. Similarly, I been knowing Russell. So the first been is used to emphasize the duration for which the speaker has known Russell. So it is used to show non-recent perfectivity. All these developments that we observe in African American vernacular English in syntax, semantics, and pragmatics, from a world English's perspective, all should be taken into consideration positively. All this should be viewed in positive light. And it should not be considered imperfect learning of standard English, as the world English's perspective is all-embracing and acknowledges different varieties of English. In this case also, it is suggested, it is recommended that all these distinguishing features of African American vernacular English should be acknowledged in their own right and should not be considered examples of imperfect learning of standard English. Though there are quite a few social factors that impede cross-varietal influences because of the fact that a lot of segregation is observed between the Black Americans, the African Americans, and white Americans. Because of this segregation, the influence of these two varieties, or the varieties used by white Americans and the varieties of African American vernacular English used by African Americans, the influences are very little. Done and be are one of the few or two of the few exceptions. So these social factors, this segregation, impedes this cross-cultural influences. And it is also observed that African Americans still show knowledge and use the varieties used by white Americans. However, there are hardly any efforts by the white Americans to use African American vernacular, except for a few slangs which are which slowly become fashionable or which become a sign of being macho or some such thing. Otherwise, there is this unconscious barrier between the white Americans and the speech used by the African Americans or the African Americans themselves.